We got the Great Mothers. We got Thrawn. We got Ezra. And maybe undead soldiers. Yo, episode 6 of Ahsoka was really cool, really awesome. It wasn't like, as I guess you could say grand as episode 5, but we're dealing with kind of apples and oranges. Episode 5 was more of a spiritual quest that further evolves Ahsoka's character and takes us down memory lane and allows us to see old faces once again. That it was amazing for its own purpose. This dives us further into lore of Star Wars once again. I have been waiting for so long to see Night Sisters in Star Wars in live action. So to not only have them through Morgan Elsbeth, but also now we actually see Great Mothers, it's amazing. They look like Mother Talzin come to life, although I know they're not Mother Talzin. Anyway, they look like they just grabbed her and threw her into live action, like taking one of the characters from Page Masters and throwing them into animation, like the reverse effect of that, if you will. Look, I could go over all the cool things that was in this episode, but of course, there's better people who do that than a nerd. Star Wars theories, Star Wars comics, and Star Wars explain all of them. Here's what I want to go over: a fun theory that I have on this great power that Baylan is searching or being called from. Now, I could be dead wrong in this theory. That's the fun in theories. It's about speculating. I'm not theorizing off of any leaks or anything. I'm not theorizing off of just some crazy random, oh, this would be super fun to do, but it has no basis. Yes, this is a fanboy dream theory. However, I do think it has a base here. A couple things to kind of root it into reality of Star Wars. So, to quit, to get to the point, I believe that Baylan is hearing possibly from Darth Nihilus. If you don't know who Darth Nihilus, he is from the Old Republic era, from the KOTOR games, Knights of the Old Republic or the Old Republic. I don't remember which one he was in directly. He is a very strong Sith who would absorb the life force or the force power from people, and he kind of worked like Galactus from my understanding, except for he wasn't this huge being. He was a humanoid small person who would just take and feed off all the force on a wide spread. Very dangerous Sith, and again from the era of the Old Republic. Now, it's been a minute since I've done like research on him, so maybe I'm botching some stuff up or forgetting some things. Please correct me in the comments. I don't oppose that. Let's grow together. Now, here's where my mind got to this Darth Nihilus theory. So I was watching a video where they was talking about how weird it is that no one has used the Force in this newest episode, and I brushed it off like, oh well, probably because the story did not create a means in which someone needed to use the Force. When I started to use it, I was like, that is kind of weird. I'm pretty sure the Force has been used in like every episode. And we see, what's her name? Sabine. She tries to use the Force. It doesn't work, but that's typical of her. She shouldn't really be able to use the Force for a long time. She's Force sensitive, yes. Apparently, we're all connected to the Force. But I'm expecting that's going to be a minute or a true tragic event before it triggers in her to be able to use the Force. Baylan and Shin, they did not really use the Force, or they didn't use the Force at all. They tracked down Sabine. When I started thinking about that, I was like, wait a minute. Baylan basically has like Force. He uses mind reading abilities. That's what he did to Shin earlier. He could tell when they were near on the previous planet right before they, shot across the galaxy to this new planet. He could tell kind of where they were and hunted them down to their exact location. Why would they need trackers now? Now, yes, there was a robot that found their location, but my boy knew. He's very strong in the Force. He's very powerful in the Force. So I was like, okay, that's a little odd that they needed to use these tracker wolf rat looking things to find Sabine. Okay. And we see Ezra for a little bit. It was pointed out he didn't use the Force. I'm like, oh, well, he could just... It wasn't really a means for him to use the Force. It's him reuniting with Sabine, so I blew it off. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, the Night Sisters didn't really use the Force too much. They used it very sparingly. Um, they seem to fear Ahsoka, which is odd to me because they're all powerful in the Force. You know, Morgan Elsbeth is a Night Sister who wasn't worried about Ahsoka that much, but was like, oh, send out Baylan, send out Shan, send out Merrick to deal with Ahsoka. She didn't seem bothered. So she felt confident to beat Ahsoka. But now the great mothers who are above Morgan Elsbeth are kind of like, oh crap, this one Jedi is coming, this could change everything. They might be weak on this planet. They might be weak on this planet because, as Shen pointed out, why are they so eager to leave? And Baylan said they are afraid of the power that's here, that he is welcoming. It could be Darth Nihilus' spirit. Now, if you are a fan of the deeper lore of Star Wars, a lot of times when Sith died, their spirit remained in certain areas and would feed off of things. Other Sith partakers could learn from these Sith spirits, Sith evil spirits, kind of like how Force Ghosts with Jedi work, except for, if I'm correct, Sith spirits will kind of be trapped to one place, if you will, not really able to roam and go wherever they want, but will kind of haunt that place in a more darker Force level kind of way. Anyway, so I was like, okay, my brain just kind of shot to, ooh, Darth Nihilus. You know, he craved for hunger all the time. He would absorb the Force and absorb people's life energy and all that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure it's their life energy too. Might be wrong on that. Now, how would that make sense? Why would Baylan be interested in that? Baylan talked about the cycle, the great cycle that has continued for thousands and thousands of years. The good versus the bad side of the Force, one rising, then falling, the other rising, then falling, the power struggle cycling for all times. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, how do you expect to stop that? That's the nature of Star Wars. You know, there's no real way to stop that unless you eliminate the Force. Now, there is a better theory out there that I've seen people talk about online, including Star Wars theory, that it could be the sun that's calling out to him. And it could very well be it. As a matter of fact, with the close-up of the fact that there's actually a big flying bat in the episode, seen for like a brief second, and it looks exactly like the bat that the sun turned into, it's more than likely him. So let's get that out of the way for people like, oh no, you're an idiot, it's the sun. It could be. But let's just ride this wave for a second. What better way to stop the power struggle between Jedi and Sith than to find a dark power that can completely feed off of the Force, neutralizing the Force, if you will, for massive armies, in which case now no one can ride off of just the Force to put them in power over the galaxy, because it's kind of an unfair advantage. Those who know how to use the Force, whether they use it for good but they're foolish with it like the Jedi, or they use it for evil and hate like the Sith, or for own personal gain. So I'm like, maybe that's what Baylan sees here. Maybe he's getting called from Darth Nihilus' spirit. He feels that energy. Maybe that's why we haven't seen anyone use the Force here. Could very well be because it's a different galaxy, a different planet. It could very well be because the writing just did not provide a proper time for the Force to be used. But what if that planet is basically dead to the Force because of Darth Nihilus' power there? And when Ahsoka gets there, she's really going to have to tap into some strength to pull from the Force from other places to be able to defeat Baylan if he is supercharged from Darth Nihilus, or if he is able to resurrect that spirit. Anyway, I think that's going to be a really cool thing if that happens. If not, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to be like a lot of people like, oh man, we didn't get Star Killer, so this show sucks. You know, like, I think Dave Filoni's writing right now is so good that even if your expectations aren't met, you're still happy. When Star Killer wasn't revealed as Merrick, yeah, I was like, oh, that would have been cool. But it didn't change anything for me. I was still like, yo, that was pretty dope that he's this undead spirit. Speaking of which, like I said, those troopers, yeah, bro, the mugs are dead. If you look at their armor, they've been heavily damaged. Someone else pointed out, which I also saw the first time I watched it, how they have red bands around them that's the same color of red as the Night Sisters. So they're probably either magically enhanced, or Risen from the Dead. I vote Risen from the Dead, because what have y'all been eating for all this time, halfway across the galaxy with no resources and no way to find resources on this desert, or not desert, but wasteland planet? We're about to see all kinds of crazy level of power and magic played out, and who better but Dave Filoni than to bring an old legend character like Darth Nihilus? Keep in mind, this is the same guy who once brought in Darth Revan in Star Wars The Clone Wars. It ended up getting on the cutting floor, but there's actually animation. You can find the deleted scene of Darth Revan's spirit being resurrected in one of the Clone Wars episodes. I need to rewatch it myself just for old time's sake. There's so much that Dave Filoni likes to get into when it comes to the dark spirits and the Sith and the stuff like that, that um, a lot of Disney Star Wars writers don't even touch, which is the spiritual side of Star Wars. We've seen the good part of it. He has to give us a balance on the other side. We've seen the good spirits with Ahsoka meeting Anakin and all of that. We have to get some sort of taste, right, as to Sith afterlife, if you will. I think no matter what we get, is going to be something tied to an ancient Sith power. Even if it's the sun, then that's just the ancient dark power, the overall. And that could be, especially when you have Ahsoka, who is the embodiment of the daughter, it would be a fair bidding to have the son maybe possess Baylan and they fight it out. But I think that's too obvious. And Dave Filoni is kind of going this long route of it's all deeply planned out with so many layers to it, all kinds of different mythos kind of tied into it. Whatever he gives us, we're in for a big treat for sure. So thank you all for visiting this video. Thank you all for your support. Go into the comments, tell me what you all think the dark power is. If you have a different idea outside of the sun or Darth Nihilus, leave it in the comments, and let's talk about it, man. Let's have fun getting into the Star Wars lore. Finally, like I said, Star Wars is back, and we're all able to enjoy some good, enriching storytelling. Thank you all. God bless. See you soon.